Okay, I'm sure by now everybody has seen that episode where that young man that worked on that airline that had a problem with an unruly customer ended up opening up the door of the airplane and sliding down the evacuation slide, and I guess maybe 2 or 3 hours later they called up to him at his house and he ended up getting arrested. I had the way that guy went about that whole thing. He had to be thoroughly enjoying himself when he did it, and he's not really worried about his consequences right now. It just seemed like he was one of these guys that's kind of like, okay, let me try this, and if it works for me, it might work for you too. And you gotta admire somebody that does something like that. He's going to take the rap for it. He might get himself in a lot of trouble because you do reap what you sow. But he probably did something that a lot of us in the back of our mind want to do something like that too. Have you ever worked a job where you stand around and you talk to the other employees about all the things you don't like about the job? I mean, every one of us has done it, and you feel your boss is unreasonable and you're not making enough money, and you just have this dream of doing what this guy did with this airline. And he actually went out and did it. I kind of feel sorry a little bit for the guy because he's going to probably have to serve some jail time. But I think he's going to get a lot of... he's going to get pretty popular is what I'm trying to say. Probably through things like Facebook and YouTube. And I just got to hand it to him. I did think that was a pretty interesting thing that he did. No, I wouldn't do it, but he's kind of like saying in the back of his mind, I'm going to express how I feel toward my job, because you have to deal with customers. Okay, and the customers sometimes can give you a very hard time and be very unruly and very unreasonable. And your job just says you got to be professional about it. And really, you do. You do have to be professional about it. But sometimes the job might go a little over the top as far as the way you have to handle yourself. They should probably back you up a little bit better when you get that unruly customer. I've been in retail for a long time, and I know about unruly customers. I had a guy back in the 1980s. I managed a shoe store, and the shoe store basically had the policy that if a person bought a pair of shoes and just wore them and just kind of like wore them out and didn't really bring them back within a reasonable amount of time, if the guy tried to bring it back for a refund because he just didn't like it, there was no defect in the shoe, we could not give him a refund. Well, this happened to me one time. This guy bought a pair of shoes. It's probably a month to a month and a half before he brings them back. They're all worn out. I think he actually tried to cut the shoe a little bit to probably say, hey, this tore and it is defective. But I knew better, because you see when a shoe tears, the tear is jagged. This guy's tear was straight, which would indicate he took a pair of scissors to it. And I just went along with company policy and told him he could not have a new pair of shoes. Well, lo and behold, I had to take the brunt of that guy's wrath that day. So now to fast forward a little bit, make this long story shorter, 3 weeks after that I went on vacation. And my vacation was in London, England. Guess who had the seat next to me on the plane? That's right. The gentleman from the shoe store. That was a long flight. That was a real long flight. Wasn't very pleasant either. So I went over and beyond for my job. My job could have backed me up a little bit better in that situation, given me the opportunity to say, hey, okay, we'll give you a new pair this time, but don't ever do this again. He would have been happy. I wouldn't have incurred his wrath. But, you see, that's probably what happened to this guy that worked on this airliner. So to all employers that don't back your employees in situations like that, I kindly give you Facepalm number 10.